Welcome to my little talk about my little module I just wrote, and I'm still in the process of writing because, we people have dreams. You can, from the name, almost see all what it's about. Of course, it's about colors, and it gives you function in the fastest and easiest possible way, the colors you want. Its purpose is quite narrow for screen purposes. So if you do on the computer stuff and you do it for the computer stuff, not if you are working in the textile industry or some illumination for some events, that is not the purpose, because I am diving quite deep and also reading the literature, and there are a lot of phenomena about color which are not as easy boxable like people wanted to have. There's a reason why we have CMYK, and all these problems are not in the scope of this module. This module will help the guy who seldom sees the sun just look at the screen and want to get solutions. It's written in a way that it helps you as much as possible in all your working steps. Conversion is not even a thing because it works implicitly. If you think this is the color, then it's the color you mean. And because our base space is RGB, of course, because most monitors work with in that space, that is a given. And of course, it's DWIMI. It's the API which I just refactored. Is very DWIMI and very Perlish, and I tried to apply the principles also Larry talked about in this module to make it the Perlish color module in a CPAN. And it is almost dependency free, so I don't like it when modules who just solve a small task, like drag the half of CPAN behind them. You want control, and I think CARP is not because the core module export, of course, is a core, but even exporters on the way out. I think requiring Perl 512 is also not too greedy, I think. And we have one optional dependency, which are modules of the graphics color namespace. And these are providing the features if you want to have the explicit names of taking the SVG or CSS namespace, and you want to, because these are already in these modules laid down. These modules are small, also have almost no dependency, so it's a nice trade-off. Plus, I took over the maintainership, so I have full control over the chain, which is a bonus. Yep. Yeah, the nice guy Rotenburg gave me it, and I even built the very small module bundle graphics color name, which gives you all these color names module in one swoop. You can install them. The module does almost nothing; it's just there for your convenience, so you can install it this way. And it provides one feature. We will come to it soon. To reiterate, GTC is to give you a set of colors. For instance, one use case is you want to have a bunch of colors, maximally different, yet harmonious, something you probably want to in a plot. So you want all the graphs distinguish, but they have to be somewhat fit together so you have a nice plot, you can look at it. Yeah. That is one of the use case. It's one function call with GTC, and you got all what you need. Yeah. And another use case is, of course, why you use scripting when you react to your surroundings. And so you probably don't even know beforehand how many data sets you will have. So maybe you want to have 3 or 4 fitting colors. What do? You just at runtime, when you have the data, call the function and get your 3 or 4 nice colors, or even have to react to a color you're just given by the user and have to compute something fitting to that. That's also a possible use case for GTC. Yeah. And of course, I took some care for the defaults, so it always gives something useful and almost prohibits to give in parameters which don't work, but fitted. We'll later see in one case where I took care that the parameters, almost all the range which is possible to put in, also give you something valuable out. Okay, and you can also measure results. You will see it. Another use case is give ranges. You will see it in a nice picture. And one next feature which I wanted to have implemented is color bowls. I couldn't set up the deployment environment in the hotel, so it will be shortly after YAPC. Or self-defined patterns. We will see when we talk about the modules. We already talked about the graphics color names. They were maintained by Robert Rothenberg, now by me. Color RGB is does almost nothing. It's a classical RGB TXT, but it's a subset of what we have. It's even a subset of what, in most cases, you don't even need graphics color names because GTC has its own set of defined names, constants. But there is, of course, a huge set of modules in the CPAN who do almost the same. But most of them are just about conversion. They are more or less pretty nice, but it's the problem we have with CPAN. There's everybody scratches his itches and then passes on. And really the nice round-up solution with nice tests are sometimes there, sometimes a little, sometimes more. And nice documentation in all the package in the way you want it. It's almost not there, and it's even my aim to deliver that, because you maybe remember yesterday that was the cell graph, and you guess what function gives you this nice overview. Of course, it's GTC, yeah. Or we have no, or we have the harmonograph. Here you have also an overview where I can set colors and which go, here the gradients are already also computed with GTC underneath. Yeah. For instance, color fade gives you such faders too, but almost nothing else. Yeah, that's the problem with these modules. They are quite good, but do almost nothing else than convert. Some do a gradient, some to the complementary, which I did. Almost no one does both. No one does none, and even not all color spaces. I also not support all, but once I get the architecture done, I just can steal their code. I mean, it's open source. Come on, it's not even illegal. Yeah. And so you have all the color spaces in one place, and if you want to convert in that space, you want that module, and you want to convert in that, it's not ideal. That's why I said the green, the first, even you maybe noticed they are sorted by age. Even it's the oldest, it's one of the best module, the color object. But it does almost only convert. But it's a very good module. But almost the best is by Philip Jenot. Like I said, a lot of spaces, even the names, but the API is, in my opinion, not as nice as what GTC, and you have only gradients and not even as powerful as me, because I even support nonlinear gradients, which are supported by no other module. Yeah, And another, of course, I have to talk nice to recorder science, or I don't get any Perl. It's a good module, but it has not even real gradients, but some weird specialized case of gradients. And that's, like I said, that's one of the cases I don't understand, that it gives you only one specialized thing and nothing else, and then the module stops. Yeah, for instance, it has a function for triad. As if you have 3 complementary colors, then it had one function for quadruple. I don't understand it. Why never have a function and a parameter with an integer, and you give the amount of complementary colors you want? That's how GTC does it. I don't understand why others can't. Sorry. Yeah. So the winner is Recorder Science by bribery. And to the Hall of Shame, really, I have to unhonorable mention the module Fig Island from 2004. It's really, really awful. It may be useful to animate. A Fig is a GIF, animated GIF. It's maybe useful for that, but it stole the namespace color just for itself as a byproduct, and therefore it deserves to be tiered or feathered. And no, this is public shaming, and it's good. Really. Okay. How we on type? Oh, good. You maybe want to object. I mean, the namespace was free. A lot of nice namespaces, because of reasons I just said, and others were already taken. So I chose Graphics Toolkit Color because it is a toolkit and it's about colors. And most of these things are in the graphics namespace, but still the name is way too long. You know, when you want to quickly define a color, that's why we have a shortcut you can import, which is much nicer and in your definition. And that's even how this thing, if you're curious how even I came to the idea to start such a module, it was not my plan. I just taken over the CPAN module chart, and in its base class, it had 6,000 lines of Farb constant, which I had, my second step was to factor them out. And 3 months later, it became its own distribution, and you know how things work. All right. Simple thing, color 250-50, 0, and if you ask that object by its name, it can tell you blue. So you have instantly the names. That's what I meant, it's instant conversion. Yeah. So it's and there are many ways to use the constructor. Of course, it also takes from the web known the hex format, or from any supported space like the HSL. On the C in the lab, they will come, I hope, this month. But just latest edition were CMY, CMYK, and HSV color spaces. And like that's the feature I just mentioned. You can also use like the name, or with a colon. If you use before the colon your namespace, it will be loaded from the color name module I just mentioned at the beginning. It will look up and give you a nice even error message. You have to install this module, and then you can use this feature. But I think it's a same compromise. Yeah, if you want to use these special from these standards constant. But like I said, we in the modules alone we have the full X11 standard. As SVG you don't need the standard. We have also, it's the same as CSS, and we have the Pantone colors. We have the Pantone colors we have because these are designer colors which are designed to look good. So also some options if you want some print, because most of the SVG colors also, they are sometimes surreal and not even like to look good if you want to have something nice. All right. Like I said, you have name as a getter. And in the previous iteration, you had all an RGB or hex or getters, which I just refactor into the values method. And you can give, if you want the RGB values, you say RGB, if you want the HSL or whatever you want, and a second argument in which format. Yeah, maybe there will be a third, because sometimes you want the percentage, sometimes you want the normalized values, so you can what you need. And this is what I meant with Perlish. So it's you have not many methods, you have only 5 or 6 methods. Every method is its sub-language, and it does a lot of stuff, but the keys it uses are reused. So it's not much memory footprint, and it does a lot of stuff. That's how things should be. For instance, here's one use case. For instance, you want the CMYK with char hash. Also, char means you have just the abbreviation, not the full name, and then that's where your output you will get. I think that's the full comfort you can get. All right, of course it can compute distances, like I said, from that color to that color in HSL. And if you want, you can, also these both are optional because it's for that operation default space, only SNL. If you say no matter what the color is, I care only the saturation and lightness, the difference, so it computes only that. And like I said, and that works for all supported color spaces. And here you see you really need the strengths to be really powerful. That's why I can't incorporate other modules. I wouldn't get this feature set. Here, set is like if you want to modify a color, you have, for instance, you take a blue, but you want to have this little bit less saturated, so you use this things, or you want to have a little less green, you can add this and get a new color. All colors are like read-only objects, they don't change, it's just immutable. Or for instance, you want to blend that color with that, and this is on, you get like a gradient, and that is a position, so you can even extend it in both directions and say what you like in which, on what position on the gradient and in which color space. And here you can, like I said, object or any type of definition I have mentioned previously, you can drop in and it will create it. I think that's so far clear, yeah. I mean, it's easy. It's just easy number crunching. There's nothing special to it. It's just, the thing is just develop a nice API, so it's easy to use. Like I said, this is a linear gradient, and this is like a non-linear gradient which skews to one side. And if you take for dynamics negative values, then it's gets to the other. Yeah, because that is sometimes what you want. I think other than that, the API is straightforward. There's nothing much to explain. Yeah? And the other thing is like the complementary, same thing. That's the only which I'm not translated yet in the hash syntax. This is like normal complementary with all the same light, also from the computational. I'm reading into the books, and the perceived distance of colors is a very hot button issue in this scientific literature, and has nothing to do what you actually compute with audio distance. You would get your own space. I'm working on that too, and I could easily have a 1 hour talk if I want to talk about that. And there will be some other functions, but for now I want to just mention it so you know I don't forget it. But it's when I do it the right way, not just hastily. You know, when I say give me the distance in HSL, you get the distance in HSL. This is what the Euclidean what you expect, but it's not the human thing. But what you can have now is just you have a certain tilt. You see the colors in the middle get a little bit lighter, and also this is the delta you can put as optional. So you have even some different sort of complementary colors if you want, if you know what you want, which makes this function even more powerful. That's what I meant. That's what I talked about already before. maybe we have 1 minute. I want to say also one reason why I'm not some features still lacking is because I laid a lot of not only good testing, good documentation, but also the code base is really good. You see, it's just small modules all the way down. They have small methods. It's good code. And I also used in 2 ways non-orthodox object orientation in a good way. And this is also one thing I want to mention, because I think you should do that too, because it leads to a more clean and more manageable code. You have what all color spaces have in common is here in the space basis. It is just the vector names which are shortcutted, and it's always the same thing. You know, don't have to write this code a lot. The actual number crunching is here in the color space. Like for instance, values get trimmed in, so you always convert into a valid color. It doesn't give you some invalid values which are also outside the ranges, or even are always integer if it's an integer or not normalized space, and so on. And therefore you have normal function here. But for instance, the color space HSL is cylindrical, which has a cylindrical coordinate, and there you would need a specialized. You know? That's why you have to hang in. Have to write for the color value HSL, for instance. You would have to write for that your own code snippet who overwrites that. But I found it. We programmers have sometimes the tendency to overcomplicate and make some meta system, and why not go easy? These are not actually classes, they are just objects. They are just instances of that, and replace that code with specialized methods calling that. Yeah, and the value. Also, here you can see this is all general, these are the specialized, and here this is like the mothership of all color values, but it's still a small class. It knows all the spaces, it can translate back and forth, but it's very little straightforward color, because the real work is done anywhere else. That's what I meant. The nice thing what I discovered, or I knew it before, but what you actually can do is you produce here a singleton object, and if you require the object, you can return the object on required. So you have a single statement. You just say, I want that space sum with, in this space is set these vector names, for instance, HSL, hue, saturation, lighting. That's say once, and all the other times it's set in. You have very small, very clean code, and you have then every color space as object in the mothership, it took me two refactoring, but still I don't need Corinna. Even I like Corinna. It's very simple code. It encapsulates a lot of that logic even from them. So you have what Ovid talked about. You have object orientation per composition. So you have your sum logic, and here you use just the calls with good names and enhance the functionality. But this is also just a small module, so you have a good overlook over it, and on every level. And you have a good overlook over here because you have only the specialized. Here you have only good overlook because you have only the high level calls. You have like the translation, and on the mothership, on the GTC object, there you handle also the interface for the user. Yeah, and that's where like, sorry, I a little bit old, but that's what I want to show you. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, a question about not specifically the module itself, but rather the I don't know how you can call it, dictionaries, if you want to call it that, the color names. I mean, how many different types of color names there are. I've seen CSS, SVG, X11.
Yeah.
How many are supported, and how many have you seen in general?
These are supported are like 11. These, I showed you the name of the module. They are all listed in the documentation of that. It's like even Pastel, Warner, and some other things I even don't know before other people did it wrote these modules. I just took over the maintainership. That's what you have in the CPAN, but that are really lost. Look, there's also Color Library. They have an API we also can access. We can, from this module, you can even use the Color Library double colon and module. There are even 20 more. There's like color spaces what the Americans have for their signs. They have defined palettes and with names. The Pantone is quite huge for their designers. There is a lot, but I would say it's not even that much. But a lot of niches have their thing, but on big standards, they are not as much as you think. Okay. It's because in our space, X11 is like a big standard. That was one of the reasons we took it over in the core. There's we have I just mentioned it. We have here the constants. The module itself has also a lot of constants, and for most cases, it's enough.
Okay.
Yes, I think this is on CPAN, correct?
This is on CPAN version 053. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Bleed Perl broke it, but they will fix it.